Actually, you say
Are
what
you
you're gonna say.
familiar with the series of unfortunate events?
Yes,
Not My
Count
Life, the book series.
Olaf. Oh,
Yes, okay.
Count
Are you
Olaf.
familiar with kind of the gimmick in that book
Yes, the fact
series?
that it's written by Lemony Snicket.
Yes, which is a name that makes me hungry every time I hear it. No, the gimmick in the book is the volunteer fire department, the
Right.
VFD,
Mhm.
and it was split into the people the ambiguity of the volunteer fire department is that is are they the ones who put out fires or start fires voluntarily? It's kind of a goofy
Yeah.
thing. And I was like, what a funny concept. That'd be hilarious if that existed in real life. And then I realized it does. It's the FBI.
Welcome to The Crunch, the only podcast with its own FBI handler. It's your boy, Ethan.
And I'm Patrick.
You see those reports that came out about how the FBI looks at words that people tweet like based and red-pilled and puts them on a list?
There's no way that's true.
That's 100% true, and they've also been infiltrating traditionalist Catholic churches and groups
Well, that is true.
online. That's true. So I'm wondering if through our ironic sheen that
Mhm.
we may have accidentally ended up on an FBI list as maybe
If
sort of a high threat group.
they could never get to us.
How many
Um,
people in the Discord do you think are feds
I
besides
I
Ben
think at
Eastman?
least 3 people in the New Polity Discord are feds, and I'll name them right now.
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
think that's
kidding.
true. Jacob Imam, Mark Barnes, and Dr. Andrew Willard Jones. They're all
Are
employed
all
by big gov.
they're all FBI plants.
Yes.
Mark did a bit at the New Polity conference where he pretended to have been an undercover agent the whole time.
That would be crazy.
It was very funny.
Yeah. I don't
It was funny in like a Chestertonian, like a polite chuckle sort of way, like,
I
ah
don't think
ha ha.
yeah, I don't think anybody in New Polity is really cracking jokes that make people belly laugh. I
I
think
don't know, man.
what?
No, I know, man. Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, which is good. It's good. They do their own thing, but
Yeah.
whenever whenever I'm in the crowd in that situation, or I'm in a receiving audience for a Chestertonian sensible chuckle,
Mhm.
um, it does it hurt you in the same way that it hurts me?
Like at mass,
Yeah, like a mass
a
chuckle.
Chestertonian sensible chuckle does not bother. I don't see Chestertonian as a sensible chuckle. For me, Chesterton is a belly laugh. It's like, ha,
Sure,
that's
Chesterton was
really
a
good.
guy who knew how to have a good time.
Yeah.
He didn't have to. When Chesterton made a joke, nobody in the room had to go to their wives to let them know that they didn't actually think it was funny, but are pretending to laugh
They were
along
like,
with everybody else.
I should probably divest of my investments in poorhouses. That's what they did when they heard Chesterton talk. No, it's like a Victorian. You're thinking like a Victorian sensible chuckle where it's like, "Oh,
Mm.
good show, old sport."
Oh,
Yeah.
bollocks. Yeah, that's what I can't handle. When
Yeah,
someone
no.
makes a pun or the lowest common denominator joke that exists on the planet. I'm not thinking it sounds like I'm referencing something specific. I'm not. I just hate this social situation.
Are you referencing homilies? Because
I'm
I feel that
referencing
way.
I'm referencing yes, I'm referencing homilies.
Is it a sin?
No. Sh
Good.
Yeah,
Next
let's
time
do it.
next time I get a bad boomery homily joke,
Mhm.
I'm just from the back of the church because girl, that's where I'm sitting. From the back of the church, I'm just gonna go, "Boo,"
Ooh.
because if you can make jokes during the homily, I can boo you during the
Yeah. If
homily.
if
If
I
we
guess
can
if we're
clap
I guess if
during
we're all
mass,
just tossing aside the liturgy, me
if
too.
we're all yeah, hashtag me too. That's what that
I'm
hashtag.
coming along for the ride. You're steering the boat. I'm just riding. I'm just asleep at the back. You know what I mean?
Brother.
Brother, we did have this weekend. The priest was very kind. I spoke with him after
That's good.
mass. I have nothing to say about this priest's character, but he did do before the Eucharistic prayer kind of a little mini sermon about the Eucharistic
Oh,
prayer
oh,
right
okay.
before,
Alright.
and it was fine, but I was literally my involuntarily my head just went Like I just fell apart because I was like,
Yeah.
dude, you just finished the homily. You could have said this. And it would have been, and then they did a whole like, oh, the kids can come up and take an Easter egg from the altar, but we haven't done the
Oh,
final
good.
blessing yet. And then there was, the call and response of teaching the he has risen indeed to a bunch of unenthused Nebraskans.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
just there were multiple things that added up that just made me like, "Oh, why are you doing this now? What
That's
are we?"
sad. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
that. That's sad.
But it was fine. He's fine. It's fine. I did write a couple of letters to the bishop, the cardinal, the nuncio, the pope. But who's to say if they got mailed? You know what I mean?
Speaking of boats, I went. I
Boats.
have I have been.
Florida boy.
Um,
You've been
I'm a
down at the
Florida boy now.
marina? You've been checking out the old people down there?
The yacht club.
The yacht club.
Let me tell you what. I went to a yacht club yesterday.
What
All
do you
right.
mean you went to a yacht club? You were you bought a yacht and joined a yacht club.
No, no, no. You don't have to own a yacht to join the yacht club.
So you just kind of stand and have a shirt that says yacht club.
Yacht club. No, I did wear my anchor socks though.
Okay,
I
that's
they
good.
they have a Commodore over there,
Mhm.
apparently. That's what they said
Mhm.
in the brochure. But so I went my friend Zach, he's a good friend of mine from high school. He joined the yacht club
Mhm.
nearby because he's a business owner and he works, he's a business to business guy, and so he does some contracts with local businesses. And so he invited me to lunch. He's like, "Let's go to the yacht club." And I go, "Good one." Oh, you were serious? And so
Yeah.
we it was apparently it was a low key thing, but I've decided that a new goal in my life is to join a yacht club. I will never learn how to sail a boat ever. My
Mhm.
dad did.
Mhm.
My dad knew how to sail boats. We used to own a sailboat, actually. Yeah. We sold it to buy the house that I'm sitting in. So thanks, Dad. We don't
That's
live on a
good.
boat. Yeah.
Yes.
My dad also used to drive a motorcycle, and he sold that to pay for the house that I'm living in now.
Hmm.
Anyway. Go, Dad.
What
Right.
you have to do now is sell the house, get a boat, get a bigger boat.
Uh huh.
That's
That's what we
the
call equity, baby.
that's the catamaran plan, you know?
But I went to the yacht club. It was very beautiful.
Okay.
It
Or
was a
is it
lovely
on a boat?
time.
I don't understand where it is. Is it on a
So
boat?
it's on a marina.
So
It's like
I so
it's a
you need
harbor.
Okay, so a marina to me is a body of water. And so if something is on a marina, that means it's in the water, which means it's on a
So
boat.
it's on like the land next to the water.
Okay, so it's on the shoreline. It's in a
N-
building.
Sure, it's a build. Yes, the yacht
Okay,
club is a building,
not
uh,
floating.
where next to which you can park your yacht.
Uh-huh.
But we're
They
not
have
talking like
drive-through,
no.
boat through.
We're not talking like Jeff Bezos style yachts where like
Yeah.
the
Oh,
length of the yacht is like the Empire State Building. We're talking like these guys have a couple of
yachts.
skiffs. Yeah.
Skiffs.
They got some what's it called? They got some uh
Slaves.
no.
Who
But it
do
was
the
a
boat
very
what do they have? What do they have? What's the name of a boat? A boatswain? What's the name
they
of
got a
a
Commodore. They have a guy who's in charge that's a Commodore,
Isn't
which
that where
is
you go to the bathroom on a ship?
that's a you're thinking of a commode.
Ah.
And no, the in the
Isn't
boat
that a type
world,
of lizard?
Komodo dragon. That's why
Isn't
they
that
call
the
him
isn't
that
that
'cause
the
he's always
villain?
pooping.
Isn't that the villain in Powerpuff Girls? It's Mojo
K
Jojo.
Mojo
We're
Jojo.
just going way too far.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah, so I went to the yacht club. It was
Yeah,
very nice. They had very
yeah.
delicious food there.
Yum.
Um,
What'd you have?
I had a buffalo chicken sandwich. It was, let's be real, it was one of the best chicken sandwiches I've ever had. Very
Really?
expensive. Well, it was expensive as far as chicken sandwiches go. I get like Popeye's chicken
What was
sandwiches,
it,
so like
$20?
no, it
$21
was like
sandwich?
15
$15 sandwich?
with like a side and a drink. It wasn't bad.
Inflation.
I know. But anyway, so after the yacht club, after I had lunch with my friend Zach,
Mhm.
I went. I was like, "Hey,
Hey.
what's membership like?" Because I wanted to
Oh,
know. I
you
wanted
never
to know.
ask. You never
I
ask.
did ask, and they brought me back. They were very nice. They weren't pushy. They weren't trying to push membership on me because it's a yacht. This is a very exclusive club. They don't need members. That's the thing. There's a waiting list, right? So they're not trying to get me to sign up today.
Sure.
Ethan,
Tell me.
the
Let me guess.
monthly
Let me guess.
fee.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Let me guess.
Okay,
So we're doing monthly fee?
I don't know if we can talk about the pricing. Well, probably. Well, who
Yeah,
cares?
what are they gonna do? Sue us?
Uh, uh, the monthly fee was like not that much. It was like a couple $100,
Okay, sure.
which is like for the whole family. So it's
Yeah,
like not a
that's
big
fine.
deal.
All right, cool.
The initiation fee
Initiation fee.
was the cost of a year of college.
Really?
It was
15K?
about, yeah,
Wow.
it was so much money. And
Dang.
I went home and I sewed that welcome pack. I went into that like that room and I was like, they're like, so what do you do? And I was like, oh yeah, I was
I'm
like,
in sales.
act rich, act rich.
You say I'm in sales. That's all
Yeah,
you
that's
need
what I
to
did.
say.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was like, I'm in sales,
I'm in
and they were like,
sales.
oh cool. Yeah, I drove up in like a 2016 Toyota Corolla, with a bunch of crap in the back, and they're like, I'm like, yeah, I'm in sales.
Yeah.
And
Rich people don't drive nice cars. That's a misconception.
no, it's true. There were not a lot of like Mercedes and Teslas in the parking. There were a
No.
few,
Yeah.
but like there were not. Yeah, no, I used to. I went. I'd make this joke. I went when I would go to the gym. There was always like a Porsche and a Corvette and a Mercedes and a Tesla in the parking lot. And I was like, I think I go to an overpriced gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, if people are parked outside driving that, they are marks
Or they spend half of their monthly income on a car payment.
on a car payment. Yeah, that's
I
basically it.
recently realized how much a car payment is because I haven't had a car payment ever because I just buy my cars in cash.
Yep.
And it's just sometimes I see these vehicles on the road and I like do the math in my head and I'm like, you're paying $800 a month. Well, what are you? So this is why people are like, oh, we can't afford this. It's because they have two
A
cars
car
for
payment.
$800 a month sitting in a
Yeah.
garage.
When I was talking to Phoebe, about what's like
Crazy.
the average person. I was like, what do you think the average person pays to own a car per year on average?
Oh, probably 6 grand,
Yep, 8 grand.
8 grand.
That's
Yeah,
Americans
that's
spend
the
an average.
average.
It's the average,
I
and
went
that's
off of
because
500 a month, so it's more than 500 a month.
yeah,
That's crazy.
but it's
One
that's the car
car.
payment. That's the car payment exactly. That's the car payment plus repairs and gas and insurance.
Okay, well that's okay. Sure,
But that is crazy. Eight
that's a
thousand
lot of
dollars,
money.
considering that the median household income is like 75 grand. That's a big chunk of your income,
Right,
especially if
that's
you
a
have 2
tenth of your.
cars.
That's a tithe. That's what's
Yeah,
supposed to go to the church. That's going
yeah.
to big petrol.
Cars are bad. Everyone's like, "Oh, Patrick's all anti-car now." Blah, blah, blah. No, this is the dumbest thing we've done.
What cars?
Yeah, this is so stupid. Why did we do
Can
this?
I propose to you mustard gas as a bad idea that we did?
Nope, this was worse because this
Okay,
killed more people.
okay. How about the gun? So you realize that you've been suckered in to the yacht club. The yacht club to me is just a country club, but in Florida. Is that really all
Yes.
that it
Yeah,
is?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's all it is.
So
Yeah.
you're gonna be a country club polo wearing, boat shoe having,
Mhm.
non-boat driving kind of a guy here pretty soon.
Well, I was just like, so that was one thing that they mentioned. If you're like if you're in business to business sales, like you got to join
B2B.
B2B. I don't want to drop that acronym because not everyone knows what it is. But if you're in B2B sales, you want to join a chamber of commerce. You want to join
Mm,
the chamber of commerce. You want to join the BNI. You want to join, which I don't know what that stands for. You want to like go on small business networking websites, right? Um, but they're like, you also want to join if you can afford it, like a local country club or like a local yacht club. And so I was like, Phoebe, we got to join the yacht club. And she's like, no. And I was like, but we should. We should take our life savings and we should join the yacht club. We'll be
yeah.
like the family on Arrested Development.
People say that you should do those things, but I think it makes more sense like once you start developing friendships, just join the ones that your friends are already at. Like I don't
Oh,
think you
yeah.
should just go join one and then be
No.
like, gonna make friends now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
with
Like,
stuff like that, you have with this place in particular, you actually have to get recommended by 2 people that are already
yeah,
members. So you have
yeah,
to
yeah.
you can't just join.
Even
Yeah,
like
no,
the
it's
Chamber of Commerce, like I went to some Chamber of Commerce meetings when I was in sales with real estate. And like everybody who's there was like sent by their boss or like is there to see some very specific friends that they knew were going to be there. And like
mhm.
the networking that happens is really awkward and weird because it's like, hey, I do this specific type of real estate sales. What do you do? Oh, I sell insurance to businesses for like flooding.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we have nothing to do with each other at all.
Great.
Nice to meet you, and then
Bye.
And then you just do that 3 times, and then you eat some really crappy chicken, and then you listen to a guy give a talk, and then everyone goes back to work. And it's just like the most miserable middle of the day thing that you can do. And so you can go to the Chamber of Commerce if you want,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't.
Oh, I'm gonna do it, and
All
if it
right.
is that, I'll just leave because like I don't know that it's that, you know.
Sure. It could be
Mhm.
different in Melbourne.
No,
They could have
it's
better chicken,
it's
thick
probably this. It's
cod.
probably similar, but hey, look, all I need if I get one contract out of it, it's worth my time.
Sure. I trust you. I think you're going to do great
Yeah.
things in these
I used to
chambers.
go to those with my dad when
You
I
went to
was
the
younger.
Chamber of Commerce with your dad?
Mhm.
My dad, uh, I was going to say my dad never took me anywhere, but I'm probably not going to say
That's
that.
not true.
That's not true. My dad took me to Chuck E. Cheese.
Nice, I've never been
You've
to
never been to
Charles
Charles
Entertainment.
Edward Entertainment Cheese in your entire
No,
life.
no.
I have the best idea for a video.
Ethan, you know what I did? I lived in Florida. We went to Disney, okay? We
Okay,
we did the bigger mouse.
where
We
so
didn't get the great value mouse. All right, we
okay,
got the
first of all, get off your high mouse right now because this is annoying. But second of all, it's not there. It's like saying like, oh, I've never been to my local high school football game and be like, you know what we did? We would go to the NFL stadium near me. That's what we would do. It's like they're not even the same kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's
they are.
no,
It's
no,
a one is a better version of the other.
no.
A
They're
more
totally
produced
different.
version of the
Nobody
other.
would go to an NFL game and be like, this is a
Also,
better version of a high school football game.
wait. Compare the comparison here
Yeah.
is a high school football game is like cute, local, and fun, and the
Yes.
kids are bad at it and it's hilarious.
Yes. And
Chuck E.
there's hot
Cheese
chocolate.
Chuck E. Cheese is yeah, for like $1.
Yeah.
Chuck E. Cheese is nothing like that. It's not that's not that. The
Have you
the
ever
the
you
the
don't know you
NFL
don't tell me
shut
what
up,
Chuck E.
shut up,
Cheese is like.
shut up,
You've never
shut up.
been. You
I
can't
know
don't
exactly what it is.
you
It's
are
where a
cheese
kid can be a kid.
you're
They
cheese splaining
they
to me.
reuse their pizzas.
You're cheese
You're
splaining
cheese
to me.
splaining. I know exactly. I've been to a PD Penguin. It's basically the same thing.
You made that up.
No, I didn't. I promise.
PD Penguins? What is it? Police Department Penguins? What does that stand for?
I don't know, but
Phil
it was.
Phil
It's like
Dietrich Penguins?
it's like a Chuck E. Cheese, but an ice skating rink. That's the main attraction.
So you have to so the arcade games are in the middle of the rink and you have to kind of skate around to them.
Yeah, and if a kid is using the skee ball machine, you just take off an ice skate and just beat him with it until he
Clonk
leaves.
him. So
Yeah,
it's so based on what you've described, it sounds nothing like a Chuck E. Cheese to
Chuck E.
me.
Cheese is like to Disney World. Chuck E. Cheese at Disney World as like arena football is to the NFL, right? It's like I see what you're going for.
No. Again, I would reiterate that you've never been to Chuck E. Cheese, and so you don't know what you're saying.
I'm
I have
aware
been.
of what it
I'm
is.
the only
Okay,
one on this
fine.
podcast. No,
Enlighten me,
I'm the only one on this podcast that's been to both Chuck E. Cheese and Disney World, and so I'm going to tell you what is going on right now. Okay,
please,
at
please.
Disney World, what do? You go in, you pay a bunch of money, you stand in lines, and you ride rides, and
Mm-hmm.
then you go home.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay, at Chuck E. Cheese, do you know what you do? You get your boys together, you eat really crappy pepperoni pizza, you all go play these amazing games and run around in like a ball pit tunnel system in the middle of the room. You look at that broken animatronics on the stage that haven't worked since 1998, and you're like, that'd be cool if those worked, but they don't. You get enough tickets to buy one of those rockets that you can fling, off your finger, and
Mhm.
everyone it takes them home, and everyone's very pleased with themselves because they've earned enough tickets. It's a totally different experience because there's a goal and you can accomplish
Sure.
it,
And
and
there's
you
an
earn the tickets
economy.
as a
There's
group, and
like
there's an
a yeah,
economy. But
yeah,
at
I
Disney
understand.
World, it's just
Hall of President's line looks short.
yeah, you stand there for 2 hours and you're like, man, this mountain better actually be in space if it's worth this much waiting.
Look,
You
I gotta
know,
be honest with you. The lines at Disney World have never really bothered me.
that's because you're a psychopath, and
No,
people don't
it
say
was
that enough about you. I
you
think.
get to you get to hang out with your friends.
Uh huh.
You play like a game while you're waiting
Hmm.
in line.
Down by the banks of the Hanky Panky, where the bullfrogs jump from bank to bank, singing
Yeah,
"Eowop
and
Iowop."
I have never waited in a Disney line that was longer than 45 minutes to an hour, like an hour
Hmm.
max. It's like
Sure, that's
depending.
because you've had the privilege of always being able to go in the off season.
That's true.
You've never had to go with the rest of us plebeians during New Year's Eve.
There is no off season for Disney World anymore. It's always packed. But it's I mean, there's really no off season because when Americans aren't going, people from Brazil are going. Let's be honest,
Is that
you know.
true?
Oh yeah,
Do they know
Brazilians
about
love
Disney
Disney
World
World. Yeah, oh
everywhere
yeah.
else? Why
Uh-huh.
wouldn't they go to what isn't there Disney World Rio de Janeiro?
No, there's not.
Where are the
There's one in
Disney?
Japan and there's one in France.
And then there's one in Orlando,
Yeah,
and then
and
there's
California
California. Well, how come America gets 2?
because it's an American company,
Hmm.
so it's cheaper. But yeah, we would never wait in lines longer than 45 minutes to an hour. Um, but you're right. That means that I didn't ride like new rides right when they came out. But when I went to Cedar Point,
Mhm.
oh, it was terrible. It was
Oh, yeah.
awful. See, we only rode 2 roller coasters the whole day. We were there for the whole day. We only rode 2 roller coasters.
Can I
It
tell
was
you a
awful.
decision that I've made for my family?
Never go to a theme park.
I don't think we're doing theme parks. I don't
That's
even think
not
we're
it's
gonna
not worth
talk
it.
I don't even think we're gonna talk about them. Like, they're not even gonna exist for
Mhm.
us, you know?
Now that's gonna be really hard for us to do in
That will be
Florida.
hard because
Yeah.
you live in theme where everything is a theme park. You
Mhm.
drive into Florida and they're like, "Have a great time," and they take your
$39
ticket.
Universal Studios. It's like, yeah, okay, fine. I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Like, and even
Doubt.
even being at a place like Universal, you're just walking around and it's like there's not much there, and you kind of walk by a coaster and you see the line, and then you see like a huge Bart Simpson, and you kind of feel like throwing up. You know? It's just like
Sure.
just a weird
I
vibe.
I liked Universal the first couple of times I went. It got old after a while
Yeah.
because I
You can only
first of
walk
all
by the 10-foot Bart Simpson so many times before you get
well,
freaked out.
my real problem with Universal was, okay, so, like, what are the rides in Universal?
Yeah,
The Mummy,
sure.
hadn't seen it.
Yeah. Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Huge
Men in
right now.
Black, didn't see it.
Dang.
Twister, didn't know it was a movie. The Simpsons, didn't watch it.
Yeah.
You know? It was like all these movies and TV shows. E.T., I didn't watch that in forever.
Yeah,
It
Jurassic
didn't
Park. You seen Jurassic Park?
I hadn't when I didn't no, I didn't watch Jurassic Park until after high school. Those are when I that's when I went to Universal,
Yeah.
was in high school.
I think what we should do is you should take me we should do a video where I take you to Chuck E. Cheese and you take me to Disney World, and we
Sounds
compare
like
the
my video is gonna be more
experiences.
expensive. Also, it sounds like we might get kicked out of the first video.
Why?
We would go to just you and me, go to
Yeah,
Chuck E. Cheese.
Charles Edward Cheese.
So you and me, 2 grown men, would walk into a Chuck E. Cheese.
Not
How would
during we
that
would reserve a time to go.
yeah? And they
Yes.
would say, "Oh, how many in your party?" We just go, "2," and they would
Mhm.
go, "2, okay, we are reserving for an
3,
adult and a
'cause
child."
we need a cameraman.
Okay, so 3, and you go, "Oh, okay, so just you and you don't need to reserve just for a family." "Oh, it's not for a family, it's 3 adult men."
Yeah. You're saying this like it's a problem. It's not a children's establishment. Anyone can go.
I feel like I don't feel like there's Chuck E. Cheese adults, like there's Disney adults, you know what I
I
mean?
mean, Dave& Buster's is the closest equivalent to an adult Chuck E. Cheese.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's an adult arcade. Yes,
Yes.
that makes sense. But what I'm saying is there aren't people who like
It's cr
Charles Bound. They don't Chucky Bound, you know what I mean?
it's crazy to me that they took the exact same games in the Chuck E. Cheese and put them in the Dave& Buster's, and then just changed the sign out front. We're like, "It's an adult place now." And everyone's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, finally, I can
Ooh.
go." It's like, you could have gone to Chuck E. Cheese there's no upper age limit at Chuck like, you could have gone.
Technically, there isn't, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, it feels like,
Have you seen those do you know what Disney bounding is, Ethan?
when people go to Disney and they're sort of Disney bound.
So, yes, but do you know specifically what you have to do to be Disney bounding? Do you know what it is?
You have to paint on your car. It says Disney or bust, and
So
then
Disney bounding, for those of you who aren't familiar,
nobody knows.
is the concept that okay, so I don't know if you're aware of this, but in like 2012 or something,
Mhm.
Disney banned costumes for people under the age of 10. So if you're like or for a certain age. So if you're like
Okay.
under if you're 12 and under, you can wear a costume. If you're like an adult, you can't wear a costume. Do you know why that is?
Because then it would confuse with the actual cast members, and then you could
Yes.
steal a boy, and we don't want that to happen.
Also, like they
Not
can't
in
control
DeSantis's Florida, let me tell you
not
that
in the no,
much.
no. So they did that so that people wouldn't get confused, like, "Oh, it's Elsa. No, actually, I'm just cosplaying as Elsa," right? So you
Hmm.
can't go into
Hmm.
Disney dressed as a character.
Right.
So what now that made Disney adults upset, okay,
What
because
doesn't?
they would do this,
Yeah.
and they have very low resilience, Disney adults. That's why they go to Disney. That's why they
Hmm.
don't do real traveling. I'm just
Hmm.
kidding. That's very mean, but it's also true, and I believe it. So,
Yes.
uh, so they instead of saying, "Oh man, shucks," they instead do Disney bounding, where you wear clothes that are inspired by Disney characters, and so you're like, "Oh, I'm Disney bounding as Peter Pan," and you'll wear like brown pants and like a green shirt and like a little hat that looks like Peter Pan's hat, but it's not technically a costume. You just kind of like are a color scheme inspired by Peter Pan. And there have
Hmm.
been TikToks of people posting, "Oh, my husband is being made fun of for Disney bounding as Anna from Frozen," and he like is wearing like a purple cardigan and like a green shirt underneath and like a tie that looks like Anna's little thing.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "No, man, I think they're making fun of you for Disney bounding. I don't think they
I
care that you're Disney bounding as a woman."
let's cut through all of this. I think they're making fun of you. I think they're just making fun of you.
Yeah.
I think I, th- I think you need to look at yourself and look at what you guys are doing as a family,
Yeah.
and recognize that some people are going to make fun of you for that.
And they're not a family, they're a couple. Like, I mean,
Oh,
that's
they don't, well
not a family, but it's like
they have a dog for now.
that's the point is like not to say that people who are married aren't a family. Sorry. I'm just saying like it's important to note that these people don't have kids
They don't have kids.
and they keep going back to Disney. Now,
Yeah,
it's not a bad thing to go to Disney as an adult. They have a lot of things for adults, especially in the area. Like if the Food and Wine Festival is obviously not for kids, but
sure.
like Epcot is not for kids because it's like you want to learn about energy. Epcot is for one thing and one thing only, and that's field trips.
Yeah, I went to Epcot and I was
You like
kind
it?
of dismayed at the fact that you could not go into the ball.
You can.
All right, I was dismayed I could not find the entrance to the ball.
There's a ride inside the ball.
I was dismayed about Epcot.
Do you mean disappointed?
Uh, I where yeah, I was disappointed. What's the ride inside the Epcot ball?
It's called Spaceship Earth, and it's about how we all live on this spaceship called Earth, and it's
Oh, so
flying
it's
through space.
propaganda.
Yeah, it's pro Earth propaganda.
That's insane.
It's anti-Martian.
Yeah, I've been seeing some of these videos too of these women kind of marching heroically through the streets of Main Street, USA, wearing their Disney bounded clothing, which I
Mhm.
guess is now the phrase.
Yeah.
And
I have a question.
yeah, sure.
When we inevitably colonize Earth,
Yeah.
how long do you think how many years, maybe we say decades, how many decades until we start being racist against people who were born on Mars?
When we colonize Earth.
No, when we colonize Mars.
Oh, you said
Did
Earth.
I say Earth?
You did
We
say
already
Earth, and
colonized
I was
Earth.
like, okay, so Patrick's entering a hypothetical with me where we're aliens and we're colonizing Earth. So I gotta get ready for this.
This is 2 steps. I
When we
meant when we
colonize
colonize
Mars,
Mars.
how long will it take us to be racist against Mars people? I
Yeah.
1 year. Like it's not. It is not a tenth of a decade. It will be literally. They will get there and they will be like, "Yeah, we did it. We put the," and we'll get like the first message back from them. They'll be like, "Those freaking idiots. They don't know what it's like. You know, those stupid morons.
Yeah.
If they really knew what was good for them, they stay here on Earth. But instead, they made this choice to live in poverty on Mars. Why don't they pull
Yeah.
themselves up? Why do they need help from us? They're handouts. Like we'll just instantly start doing that.
That's
100%.
great.
It will take as long as it takes the first correspondence to get back from Mars is as long as it will take for us to be racist towards Martians. Guaranteed.
'Cause that you read that book series about, like, the solar system. We're colonizing the solar system. What's it called?
The book
Leviathan
series
Wakes. Leviathan Wakes.
the book series about the solar system.
Leviathan Wakes.
Every book has been in the solar system. Talking about Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's this book about
That's
the
the book
small
about the
town
solar
inside the solar system. Speaking of, patreon.com/the crunch at the $10 a month and up level, you can listen to our weekly bonus podcast reading through The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. I am done with the first chapter.
Nice.
How far do we need to be for our episode tomorrow?
Oh, I did look this up.
You never texted me back.
I think it's chapters 1 through 4.
Okay, perfect. Patrick's on his new wave of not texting me back when I have business questions.
It's been it's been a time.
To be fair, he's been going through some things. but he doesn't tell me that. So I just have to assume
Sure.
that he's ignoring me, and I always assume the worst in him.
So it's chapter 1 through 4. So we're reading most of book 1 for tomorrow.
Good
When
deal.
when it's tomorrow for us. The episode that's already up is chapters 1 through 4, and then
Yes.
we're reading. It's essentially it's 2 chapters a day or so. I didn't actually send out the reading list.
Well, we
I'll
can
send the
send it out.
reading
We'll
list
send it
in the
out. We'll send it
Discord.
out. If you
Yeah,
want to
we'll
follow
send it out.
along, you can subscribe at the $10 a month and up level. We're very excited. I have so much underlined. I have so much written out about it.
Cool.
And I'm really excited to go in depth. But we're gonna do this all kinds of books on patreon.com/thecrunch $10 a month and up level. But the talk about the Disney princesses has been making me think about the Mario movie.
Oh yeah, there's a princess in that one.
Yes, but she's not Disney. At least
Mm.
Nintendo's not owned by Disney yet. Uh,
Mhm.
but it could be one day.
Imagine Pikachu imagine Pikachu Land.
Imagine Buzz Lightyear in Smash. They did do the All-Star, like the Nickelodeon All-Star or whatever that was. What was that game called that everyone played for like 2 minutes, but then no one played again? It had
It
like
was
Shaggy and the
Bugs
Iron
Bunny. That
Giant.
was Warner Brothers All
Yeah,
Stars, whatever. Yeah.
All-Star. Somebody once told me game, and so I've been thinking about the Mario movie, and I've been thinking about. It's just very interesting to me. No hate to anybody who is excited for the Mario movie or anybody who cares about it or whatever. But trigger warning, if you care about the Mario movie, I'm probably going to hurt your feelings.
Oh no.
Yeah. But I think it's so a lot of people, there's been a lot of discourse about this movie online.
Mhm.
People saying on Twitter, on Reddit, even in our own Discord at bit.ly/crunch Discord, people talking about like, oh, like I thought it was really fun. I had high expectations or I had low expectations or, it feels like they did a lot in 90 minutes. And there were so many Easter eggs that were so fun. And, I wish that there wasn't really much of a story, but like, that's okay. Probably the sequel will like have more story. Like people are just like analyzing this thing,
Yeah.
and it makes me feel like because of what Marvel has done to the movie industry over the last 20 years, what Marvel did is effectively they packaged children's entertainment into what appeared to be an adult form of entertainment, right?
Mhm.
So like they took action figures and they were like, what if sometimes they did swears and they had PG-13 action scenes? And it
Yeah.
was massively successful because they went from just doing an action movie like The Matrix or whatever that was R-rated that could hit adults this size, or
Mhm.
like a kids movie like The Little Mermaid that could hit kids this size, and they just widened their market audience,
Yeah. They were
and
like,
they
"What
did
if
this
we did a movie for everybody?"
everybody, right? Which makes sense, right? They made gobs of money if you think about it. Like it's very obvious why they did what they did. But I think what it's done is it's conditioned everyone to think that now all entertainment needs to fit that model of it's for children, but it also needs to be for me too. Like all of
Mhm.
the comments about it being like rushed and being fast, it's like, guys, go back and watch Tarzan or The Lion King or any of these movies, which I'm sure you watch frequently because you're all living in adolescence permanently. But um, but like you watch these movies, they move really fast. You want to know
Mhm.
why? Because they're made for kids. They don't have time for these long scenes of dialogue. They need to go have a song and then they need to move the plot forward. Then they need to have a song, then they need to move the plot forward. Because that's what they're
Were there
it's
songs in the Mario movie?
yes, there were. And everybody's going nuts over Jack Black's song that he sang as Bowser,
Oh. Oh.
which again, everyone's like, oh, I'm listening to this song on repeat. You're listening to a song on repeat from a children's movie. Like, can we just anyway? So it's odd to me that there's all these like I feel like we're going to be in this now forever, like with the Barbie movie coming out and all these things. It's like we're just stuck trying to take stuff for children and make it for
Well, the
adults.
Barbie movie is not for kids.
Oh, it's Greta Gerwig, and so it's going to be very mature,
I
whatever.
saw that take on Twitter. People were like, "Well, people need to understand this is not a kids movie." I'm like,
Yes,
but
it
it's a
is.
kid's toy."
It is a kid's, yeah. That's the other thing too, is like it feels like there's this desire that like people so desperately wanted the Mario movie to be this mature, thoughtful, like they were comparing it to the Lego movie, which was also just kind of a solid kids movie. Like I wouldn't call it an adult movie, but I think it surprised people with the story. And
Yeah.
so now that's like held as the gold standard of like kids type
As
movies.
like
I don't know.
SpawnCon, as like
Yeah.
as paid marketing.
Yes. And so it's just it's strange to me that people just so desperately want these things from their youth to be adult entertainment, and I don't mean that in the pornographic way. I just mean like mature adult entertainment. Um and that's like really really strange. And I don't and I do
Mm,
you think we'll ever be able to go back, you know? Because we've talked about this in various ways, but the response around the Mario movie has just really like shocked me, where it feels like
sure.
people are detached from reality in a certain sense and have these
Mhm,
expectations that are never going to be fulfilled. And they're going to keep buying tickets to keep seeing these movies and keep buying these books and keep watching these TV shows, searching
mhm,
for this perfect zenith of childhood nostalgia and adult entertainment. And they're never going to find it. And the
sure,
companies know this and they're going to keep selling them stuff with that
sure.
promise, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if we can ever go back. I mean, movies right now are just so tied up with,
Mm.
um, merchandising, and
Yeah.
it's been like that since Star
Star
Wars
Wars,
came
yeah.
out, Um, at least since then.
Man, George made
I
so
don't know.
much money off the Star Wars.
He I mean, he was smart. He kept he didn't care about licensing. He's like, "Do whatever you want. I keep merchandising rights, baby."
He knew.
Super smart. That was super smart.
Yeah.
He knows like, "Oh, we're making cute little characters and people are gonna wanna buy Ewok teddy bears and toy lightsabers." Obviously, like,
Mhm.
that's
Yes.
that's what we want. Um, I don't know. I
Han
don't
Solo
expect
body pillows, Princess Leia body pillows, Chewbacca body pillows.
for the more discerning consumer.
Indeed.
Um, yeah, I don't think it's ever gonna go, but I don't think there's ever gonna be a mainstream successful movie that is, like, original ever again.
Ever again.
I don't
You
think
think
that's gonna happen.
we're just stuck in reused IP forever?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, like, everyone knows that it's bad. They're never gonna win an Oscar,
Right.
but also, who's watching Oscar movies, you know?
I
Are you
watched The
watching it?
Banshees of Inisherin.
Sure,
Thought it
okay.
was good. I haven't watched Tar yet, but I've heard it's alright.
I don't know. I
Anyway,
think that it's a part of life,
you
It's
think
just that
so?
you can't get rid of it.
You think we're just on this trajectory where
Well, I
it's
mean
the thing that's more concerning to me is the mass expectation or the mass attitude towards content and not so much that like because obviously you can't expect companies to do anything other than make the thing that they think is going to make them the most amount of money. And
mhm,
so you make a Mario movie, you can make a ton of Mario movie tie-in merch, you can make a new game, you can do
mhm,
all kinds of things to make a ton of money, right? You do the Barbie movie, you can do that with the Lego movie, whatever, Spider-Man, all these things. It's the reason these movies are kept going for so long. But I think it's like it's people don't it feels like people are deluding themselves and not thinking about how that's what this is. This is companies maximizing their profits as much as they can. And they think it's something that's like made for them. You know, like, oh,
interesting.
this Mario movie was made for me because I grew up with Mario and they're finally coming out with a movie that I can enjoy
Mm,
with my family, with my friends. It's like, no, these people, they despise you and they want to wring as much money out of you as they can. And like there's this weird perception of like goodwill and I just don't know where that comes from, you know? It's like the perfect
Yeah.
they look at all the Easter eggs they put in there. They did that so that you would say, "Look at all the Easter eggs we put in there." They're playing
Mm.
you like a little fiddle, you know? And
Yeah.
why do people not recognize
They
that?
manufactured controversy so that you could talk about it on Twitter,
Yes.
you know?
This different thing, but they put a trans person on the Bud Light can. Because they hate you, right? Like if
Yeah.
they didn't do it because they love trans people. They didn't do it because they, were trying to make a statement about left, right, or whatever. They did it because they hate you and because they wanted to get on Fox News for 14 hours a day uninterrupted and get the most free marketing that any beer has had in years. And they wanted you to talk about it on Twitter. And it's like, and
It
people think
works.
they think it's personal, but it's like, no, they hate everyone. They just want to make money.
Yeah.
And like, why do we pretend like any of this has meaning?
I mean, this is just the trajectory of the world. It's like that
Yeah.
as things get more centralized, entertainment gets more centralized. I think we were talking about this in writers group, and
Mm.
someone I'm gonna ruin the frame a little bit because I need to do this. He was sitting like this.
Yeah. I sit like that sometimes when we podcast.
It's like, where are the Humphrey Bogarts? Where are the Audrey Hepburns? And I'm like, hey man, we're in a bar in like Pittsburgh. You don't need
The
to.
strong silent type, like Gary Cooper. That's
I
what
was like,
Tony
yeah, I was
Soprano
like, also
says.
you're like 30, so Anyway, so
Does
this guy,
anybody else think that there need to be more traditional women like Audrey Hepburn in society today?
it wasn't even that. It was like, where are all where's like the leading man? Like, where's the
Mhm.
leading lady? And I was like, dude, that was never going to last.
Right.
That can't last.
This is
There.
literally one of the fundamental premises of the show The Sopranos, and this is kind of what it's about, is that
Uh-huh.
throughout the show, Tony Soprano is like, where's the strong silent type? Where is Gary Cooper? He was an actor, right, in the same
Mhm.
kind of generation. He was in leading man in westerns. But the whole
Sure.
point is that like that America is dead, and the America that's replaced it is because of guys like you, Tony Soprano, who kill people and extort people and do anything for profit and abandon your family. Like you're the reason that the guy that
There's
you
no guarantee.
idolize so much that you think you're emulating, you're
Mhm.
the reason he doesn't exist anymore. Which is a
But it's also like,
yeah.
I also think that like the America that had Audrey Hepburn and Humphrey Bogart,
Mhm.
fake names by the way. Who's the name of that movie?
This is chat
Uh,
GPT generated.
yeah,
Make up a name for old people.
yeah. Ethel Rosenblatt, the real superstars. Um, but like that America created this one because they realized that they had Frank Sinatra, and they were like,
Mm.
they took some guys later down the road, like the guys who became like the rock and roll big boppers, those guys. They were like, we're
Elvis.
gonna dress you up, and you're gonna sing the Great American Songbook just like Frank Sinatra did. And it's like, no, that's not gonna work because Frank Sinatra's songs are not mass producible. They're not like the the thing that made him such a big success, everyone being able to look at one guy and be like, "That's the guy," or those are the guys, the Rat Pack. They're the big stars. Having that is like, it paves the way for a monoculture, and the
Mhm.
monoculture is at the end of at like the end of its life is not going to produce good things anymore. It's
Mhm.
going to produce okay things that are just
Right.
broadly appealing,
Right.
Um, and it's gonna get worse and worse. And like the thing that you liked about Humphrey Bogart and Audrey Hepburn, it can't exist anymore because
Right.
of the world that they created,
Yes.
or the people that propped them up. It's
Yeah.
like, because there's no like local theaters putting
Mhm.
on productions from local playwrights, every high school in the world is going to do SpongeBob the musical. Because that doesn't every high school in America is doing SpongeBob the musical and Legally Blonde and Mean Girls the musical.
Mhm.
There's not going to be any
All these
kids going,
stupid high
"Wow."
schools doing Romeo and Juliet and all these other Shakespeare
See,
plays,
that's the opposite
mass-produced
of the point
garbage.
that I'm making.
I know.
Is like, they're doing mass produced things. So they
Yeah.
they go like, "Oh, this was written," okay. So like high schools do a Shakespeare thing and they throw a little spin on it. Like, we're gonna do Shakespeare. We're gonna do Romeo and Juliet, but with lions.
Meow.
That was Lion King too. Um, we're gonna do like we're gonna have like the local playwright. He wrote a play for us, and we're gonna perform that one. Instead, it's like, we're gonna do SpongeBob the musical. We're gonna do Shrek the musical. We're gonna do Little Mermaid the musical, Beauty and the Beast, High School Musical. And so now these kids that are learning, the kids that love theater and love that kind of art, they
Mhm.
go, "Oh, I know what I have to do to write a musical. I have to either create a huge national IP, or I have to take an existing IP and make
Mhm.
music about that." And it's
Harry
like, this
Potter
is
and the
not.
Cursed Child or
Yeah, like,
whatever.
a good example is when I was in college, I majored in communications, and part of my major was I had to take a script writing course, um, a screenwriting course. And so our big final project was come up with an original TV pilot. And the professor had a conversation with one of the guest speakers who was like a professional script writer, showrunner in Hollywood. And she was like, "David," my professor's name was David. She was like, "Why are you teaching them to like come up with new IP? Why aren't you teaching them how to like take an existing show and learn how to write as if they are those characters because that's a
Mm,
more valuable skill in this market. And he said, I want to let their creativity blossom before the reality of the world just like shuts them down.
wow.
Because if you want to be a screenwriter,
Mhm.
you think I'm going to create the next Office. No, no, no. You have to learn how to write as if you are Kevin from The Office, a character that someone already created 14,000 years ago and has been co-opted for this show. Like you have to learn how to write like that guy because that's how you're going to make it. Is you got to show that you can copy people really well and then
Mhm.
you're going to succeed. So the system that we have created for entertainment because it's not local anymore,
Yeah.
it's going to pump out Super Mario Brothers every 4 years, um, and our kids will be watching Toy Story 25, you know? Like, it's just gonna
Yeah. It's
they're
a
gonna do it they're gonna do a sequels what they did with the iPhone. They're just gonna be like, "Ah, it's the iPhone X, XS."
Do you think that when the boomers die, that there will be any resistance left to just like a one party state controlled everything?
I don't know.
Cuz I
I don't know
feel
the answer
like
to that question.
I feel like the large remaining block of right-wing power is centered in those that will die in the next 10 to 15 years, right? So like when that happens,
I don't know. There's a lot of young conservative guys out there.
I agree that there
Guys,
are, but
actually.
are there more young conservative guys than there are young left-leaning people? Because I would argue that overall the culture is pushing people left and pushing people in that direction. You
I don't
just
know. All the Gen Xers I know are conservatives now, and they were, like, fighting the power in high school, you know what I mean?
who do you know that's Gen X?
All of our parents are Gen X,
Yeah, we
and, like, their
between the two of
friends.
us, we have 4 parents.
Those parents have friends, and I
They
work
do.
with people who are Gen X, you know?
Sure, but a lot of people are let's pretend for a second that there is a bubble outside of the Catholic world.
I think there's a breaking point.
You think
This is my
so?
honest opinion. I think
Okay.
there's a breaking point. I think the average voter is this. Now, I don't think a guy can become a girl, but do whatever you want, makes you happy, you know?
Right,
And that
which is
guy's gonna
left-leaning for the record.
it's left leaning, but like they might have they vote Republican because they want their Social Security or whatever. Like they don't want like they see stuff on you know they see the Bud Light commercials and they're like,
Mhm.
I
I
don't
don't
know
know
about
about
this.
that.
You know,
Yeah,
I don't like
yeah,
that seems strange.
sure.
Um,
The bubble bath
and
really
so
got
like,
me.
what was that?
Just the bubble bath was just a little bit too far for me.
I don't know what you're talking about, and I'm excited that I don't know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
hopefully you never have to
I'm
learn.
ecstatic.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's what I think. I think like the
Yeah.
average voter is like, you should be free to do whatever you want, but then it's like, but then they'll see all of the imposition. Because even my like pretty liberal family members
Mhm.
who are like Catholic adjacent are like, I just don't know. Like people can't like men can't become women, dogs and cats living under the same roof. You know, they're very much like
Mhm.
they're like that's no. Like that's not
Sure,
and they're like pushing it
sure.
on kids and all this stuff. And they're very hard line. And I really think that only only uh maybe you're right. Maybe it is the case that like the people who are in high school college now who are just like being told like obviously a man can become a woman. How dare you even suggest? And they go, I'm an
Right?
impressionable.
Men can become
Yeah.
women, right?
Yeah, and they're
What
like
do you
they're
think?
kids and they're on Instagram and Instagram is like showing them these things. It's like this is what to be demisexual means, and it's like all right, they're like learning about the world through a screen and not reality. So maybe once those high schoolers that are younger than us kind of come up and they're in charge, but like I do think that there's a breaking point. I
Sure.
mean, what do you think? What do you think comes after this, Ethan? What do you
After
think?
what? After the current moment in time?
What do you think happens after transgenderism? What do you think happens?
Well, it's the we turn into animals. That's the only thing left, you know? I think it's either that, it's like it's the ultimate Marxist struggle, right? Is the elimination between genders. It's the complete leveling of all distinctions between different classes of people. And so the only thing that's left is like I could see people warping their perspection or perception of the world and being like, well, animals are more pure than us because they don't commit sin. and so I'm going to become an animal, or they just all kill themselves because that is the great equalizer, is death, you
Is
know?
yeah.
And so the most true Marxist thing you can do is commit suicide, which is
Terrifying, but
terrifying, right? But that's the
yeah,
logical conclusion of all of this, is like that's the only way we can all truly be equal
it's we're all dead.
is if we're all dead and we're all 6 feet under. So it's like some weird bestial thing, or like mass ritual suicide, or
Well,
uh
it's not
something
like
like that.
Marxism and death are alien forces. I mean,
No, yeah, believe it or not, they actually have a nice storied history together. Marxism and death do.
yeah. Um,
Why?
but
What's so
yeah,
that's what I think. What do you think is after this?
I don't know. A professor of mine is convinced that minor attracted persons is next. He's convinced
Mm,
that's what it is. I doubt it because
I think, yeah.
that's the big like anti-Catholic narrative.
Sure,
You
sure,
know,
right.
they wouldn't have a leg to stand on.
Mm-mm.
Like the I'm saying they again. That's like a the
Unless unless
but
there
we
is
do know for a fact. We
a
do know
certain
for a fact.
sect of Catholicism branches off and joins with the minor attracted persons contingent, and then they become united.
What is this sect of Catholicism?
Like people who, like priests and clergymen and people who agree with the minor attracted persons ideology.
Oh, sure.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you have, I don't think that would happen, but if we're just taking it to the worst logical conclusion, the
Mhm.
worst thing that could happen, bishops and priests could break off and say, we're the true church and we're uniting with this state funded force that's
Sure.
saying all of these things. I don't think it'll happen, but it could happen.
I don't think that's I was kind of like, I don't know about that. He said something else about he said like another like the Overton window going forward. Like what's the other option besides that? I
Mm.
forget what it was, but that other one sounded more
I did
feasible to
see,
me.
I did see a British, I think he maybe a psychologist or some type of social science person,
Mm,
but he was saying that a 9-year-old, he called him a 9-year-old man, which was very interesting to me,
mhm.
and said this man was 9 years old and he was able to consent to a sexual relationship with a 50-year-old. And he like
Uh,
was saying it like very like he was in his right mind, and he said that he consented and he didn't regret it afterwards. And I was just like, wow, he's saying this and he believes what he's saying.
wow. Huh,
That's
maybe I'm
that's
wrong. I think
I don't
the what
know.
I my example the thing that I think is next is like a greater understanding and acceptance of polyamory.
Mm,
I think that's more likely.
sure, that makes sense.
'Cause, like, the consent narrative is, like, the consent as the great, like, definer of morality, whether the other
Hmm.
person has consented is very is kind of like it's the reason why minor attracted persons it's the reason why pedophilia is wrong is because minors can't consent,
Yeah.
which I don't think is the only reason why it's
No, I
wrong.
think there's lots of reasons why it's wrong.
And so, like, that I think is a hurdle, but polyamory is something that is a little more understandable when it comes to, like, consent.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, we do know for a fact that there are elite men, wealthy individuals who have specifically solicited uh, sexual activity with minors. So perhaps that is something that will be pushed because I mean, let's be real. Like the I was reading this tweet thread about like the New York Times bestseller list, and they were like, everybody thinks the New York Times bestseller list is this big scam. It's not a scam. It's wealthy men's wives at lunch talking about what books they're reading, and then all of their friends buy it, and that's how books get on the New York Times bestseller list. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's not a big conspiracy. It's just the wealthy and powerful just so happen to be powerful. Crazy. And
Mhm.
so it's like, why do you think all of it? Why do you think in leading up to 2015 there was so much like gay marriage stuff in television shows? Why do you think leading up to now there was so much transgender stuff in television shows? It's because that's how that's it's because the executive the executive is like talking to his wife who talks to this, but and it all it's not like a grand conspiracy. It's just we're hitting the gas pedal on depravity and
Mhm.
just zooming forward into annihilation. I'm excited to see how it goes. I'm looking forward to it.
You are?
No.
Oh.
Well, I'm fine. I'll be dead.
But our children
Oh, sure.
and
Well,
their
they can deal with
children.
it.
Yeah,
Well, they
okay.
can deal with it in the
Yeah, well,
future.
we don't have to really think about the future.
I mean, hey, look, I got saddled with this whole, debt global warming thing. So someone else, they can take care of it. They'll
Yeah,
figure it out.
I'm Audrey Hepburn signing off. This is not my
And you're
problem.
watching Disney Channel.
Bum bum ba-dum. What do we have time to resurrect the beef, or is it too much of
Oh,
a
we
thing?
don't we don't have time to resurrect the beef. We've
Oh,
been doing this
okay.
for an hour.
Well, have we?
Oh yeah.
I might cut out that whole middle part. No,
But
just the
that was
part.
so much good podcasting.
It was great, good podcasting, but I don't want people to listen to this show to be like, oh, they think that transgender people are pedophiles. You know what I mean?
Oh.
That's because that's not what I'm saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I may believe it. I guess my thing is like, why does it
Yeah.
have to be kids?
Yeah.
Like, why does it have to be kids?
Why does it have to be children?
Why does it have to be kids?
Yeah.
There were drag shows before. Why does it have to be kids?
Right.
Does it have to be kids?
Why did the kids need to see the drag show?
Why do the kids have to go to the drag? I
Yeah.
don't
Why is it
understand.
important that the kids get
It's like
an
why are
education
you
in
upset?
drag?
Why are you asking me why I'm upset about this? I should be asking you why you need to do this. Why do
Yeah.
you need to do this?
Right.
I'm
So
asking you're
much.
the one doing it. Why are you I want to know.
Right.
What's your game here?
Yeah. I
You know?
you're the affirmative case here. So you have
Yeah.
to
They have
the
they
before
have
it
no
was
money.
before
Like
it was no children at drag shows, and now you're saying children at drag shows, and I have to defend my case. That's just not how argumentation works.
no. You should be like
Tell me
you
why it
should
should change,
yeah,
please.
why should it change?
Yeah.
Why should we do this?
I think um
I'm not a crazy person for being, hey, something weird is going on there.
no, I don't think you're a crazy person at all. What do you think everyone just had the worst childhood? And is that why like all of this is centered around children? Is like people reliving some trauma through
Maybe
like
because
kids?
people really
It
seem
just
to love shows about high schoolers.
it's a lot of high schoolers, and
People talk about high school a lot.
it's a lot of teens transitioning, it's a lot of teens being gay, it's a lot of teens because before in the
Yeah.
90s it was like teens have sex, and it's because the guys in the 70s wanted to have sex but they couldn't, and so then they wrote
Yes.
shows about teens having sex. That makes a bit more sense to me
Mhm.
because everyone wants to have sex when they're in high school. you know you're just a horn dog, but when you get to it just is like a little bit of a different thing, I feel like.
Yeah. I don't know
It's
because it's
still
just like,
wrong. The 90s thing was wrong too.
yeah, I'm just not. I don't know. I don't think people that are transgender are de facto pedophiles. I just
No.
think, hey, why is what?
Why
Hey,
did the kids?
that's going. Don't get mad at me for pointing it out. I go, hey, look, that
But
seems
that's what
kind of suspicious.
but that's what people get mad about. It's like you point out a thing that you're like, this doesn't seem right to me. And it's like, well, why do you hate this group of people? It's like, well, I don't hate the group of people. It's just why the kids?
I was asking. I'm like, I want to know the answer to that. I had a question that I haven't quite gotten an answer to yet.
Yeah.
It's kind of I'm open. I'm not, but I'm open. It's like I want to know. Yeah, I feel like before the left was a little more interested in like dialogue, you know,
Mm-hmm.
of like we believe this because of these reasons and we'll tell them to you.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's more like if you dissent, you are de facto conservative
Yeah.
and like therefore wrong. And there's no
Right.
like we believe it for this, and this reason. It's just like I was talking to my dad about this the other day, and I was like, I hear liberals talk about certain things like transgenderism and how
Mm-hmm.
like people can you can become a man or you can transition into a woman and people know that they're a woman at a young age and they should take hormones or whatever. And I was like, I will agree with you 100% if you tell me you believed this 10 years ago. Like most liberal person, 30-year-old currently was a liberal when they were in their 20s, pro gay marriage, all this stuff. Did you believe that a man could become a woman? Like literally 10 years ago. I don't think you did.
Right.
So why are you surprised that people don't believe it now? It could be correct. Like correctness is off the table. Assume for the sake of argument, as the great prophet Ben Shapiro has said. Did you believe that 10 years ago? And like if not, what changed your mind?
Mm-hmm.
Because I just that conversation I feel like hasn't been happening.
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, I had this one
Or if it
metaphysical
does
idea of, like, what conceptually gender is, and now" anyway.
right. Or it's not if it is the conversation that's being had, it's more of a gotcha by the right, where they'll
Mhm.
look at someone like Hillary Clinton. It's like, "Oh, you voted against gay marriage in 1982," or whatever it was, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, "Ah, see?" But it's not like it's never a what changed. It was
Mhm.
and then if that question does happen, she's like, "Well, there's been a lot of new, we have a new understanding. We have a different understanding than we did
"What do you
before."
mean we?"
Right. It's like these
Who's
weird
we?
there's no way to even begin to because yeah, you're right. There's not been like a new metaphysical discovery. There's nothing new about the human person.
Yeah.
It's just become it's fashionable.
People have vaguely cited science that, like, science has discovered that gender is a
Right.
spectrum, and I'm just like, "I don't know,
What is that? To
because like,
me, social science, like psychology, you
it's
can't
like
you how do you put down empirically on a sheet of paper what is happening in someone's brain? Like you can talk about the electrons moving around in the nervous system. You
yeah,
can
oh,
talk about
yeah.
you can talk about the lobes and the cortexes and the hippocampi, and you can talk about those things and what they do and when they fire and when they don't fire and the types of chemicals that are being pumped around in your brain meat. But like but none of that has any and that's empirics, right? That's science. You can measure that. But you can't measure how someone feels.
I am 3 gay. That's how
Right.
I'm out of 5.
Yeah, it's like you go to the doctor's office, a scale of 1 to 10, how gay do you feel today?
Right? Like, it's just it's
They
different.
should start asking that for the record. What's
Yeah.
your pain level on a scale of 1 to 10? 8. How gay you feeling today? 9. Wow. Well,
Whoa.
we'll get you the better doctor. Um, it's I don't know what that means. Um, but like you could even put setting aside the gay or the transgender thing. Like, let's say I feel I'm as sad as I've ever been
Mhm.
because I was gonna get French toast and I didn't get French toast. And that's the saddest thing that's ever happened to me because I've lived an incredibly sheltered and privileged life. And there's a
Yeah.
woman next to me whose child just died. And you ask us both, how sad are you? And we both say 10. Like it's just there's no way you
Yeah.
like how you can't empiricize it. It's
Yeah.
impossible.
You can't.
Oh,
And also, your empirical research is going to be incredibly biased by the things that you're already your hypothesis. So that's
mhm,
just a proof that we understand this about science is that, like, the reason why we know that men have male gametes and women have female gametes is because we've already decided what men and women are, and we tested them and we found out what was different. And so if we didn't have that pre-existing definition of men and women, we wouldn't have been able to tell that gametes make sex hormones different. And so, like, even the right is incorrect when it comes to the scientific understanding of gender. Both sides are wrong about gender. It's like no
yes,
one understand. This is the crazy thing, and like
mhm,
neither of them can really talk to each other.
yeah,
Neither of them can really like understand. Like, why do you believe that men can't become women? Why do you believe that men can become women? Is it because you believe that there's some kind of metaphysical reality that exists outside of you? No, you don't. No one believes that.
yeah,
Deep down in our little liberal hearts, we all believe that we can make anything happen, that we
mhm,
can change our body chemistry, that like anybody can become an Olympic wrestler or pole vaulter just by like willing it by sheer force of will.
mhm,
And we all believe that like the Justice Kennedy thing is like the essence of liberty is to be able to define one's own concept of meaning for their own existence. That's crazy. A
yeah,
Supreme Court justice said that when defining what marriage was. Was his definition was you can define marriage as whatever you want. But you understand that once everyone can define it for whatever they want, it's meaningless, right? Which is what's happening with gender, which is what's
mhm,
going to happen with parents next.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Why is the right wrong? I agree
Oh, the
that they're
right.
wrong, but why like, I understand very clearly why the left is wrong, but why is the right
Oh, yeah.
wrong about gender?
So the left the right's argument for gender, this is a really like this is gonna make your head hurt a little bit.
I'm ready.
But so okay. Male gametes, men have X chromosome, Y chromosome, and women have X chromosome. Okay, how did you find that out? Well,
I
we
looked in
took
their
all the men,
bones and
we
I
took all the
found it.
men, we took all the men and we said, "You're men." and we took all the women and said, "You're women," and we checked them to see what was different. And the men had XY chromosomes and the women had XX chromosomes. And so that's how we know that men and women have different chromosomes. Okay, how did you decide which of them were women? I pointed at the men and I pointed at the women. How did you know they were women before you tested them? That's the kind of question, is like, how did you know they were women? Oh, because it was
Mhm.
a socially like it's so like
Sure.
the the
So the
the
right
rights
has
argument, yeah.
they don't have anything outside of the human person to define what a human person is.
Yes, and that's an issue. Is like you pointed at men and you pointed at women, so you already knew what a man and a
Mhm.
woman was,
Mhm.
and so you can't use what you then discovered to define. It's a tautology.
Yeah.
That's the problem,
Right.
and it's also biological determinism, which is funny
Right.
because usually that used to be the left, but now it's the right. When it comes to
Mhm.
gender, they're like, well, no, the biology determines your reality, and it's like I don't actually think it does because it doesn't in every circumstance. So why does it determine reality in this circumstance? I hope that
Yeah.
makes sense.
It does. It's like it's kind of like you have a dog for now, and uh, you have a dog for now, and you say this is a dog,
Hmm.
and you find that the dog has fur, right? And then you go to a tiger, and you're like,
And it has fur.
this is also a dog,
Hmm.
and it also has fur, and you determine vis-a-vis that they are the same creature.
Yeah,
It's like a
it's like
weird
yeah,
backwards way of determining what something is. Even if you figure out different results, you're going about
mhm,
it in the wrong way.
yeah. Scientific naturalism is never going to combat nominalism. Nominalism is
Mhm.
like whatever we've imposed a reality onto nature,
I named the
and
thing, and therefore that's what it is.
yeah, and so like that's a very modern understanding of what things are. Is that they're just we agree that all of these things are dogs, so they're all dogs. But like there
Mhm.
is something that's natural because you can conceptualize what a dog is, even if you don't have a full and complete picture of its essence, because you can't understand the essence of a gnat, as Thomas Aquinas says. Like you can like comprehend universals, but you can't understand like what it means to be a gnat, like way deep down, like even a fly. And so like it's a problem to try and combat any kind of nominalism. Like transgenderism is just nominalism
Right.
with a few extra steps.
Yeah.
And
So
drag queen story hours.
so basically, you're saying that William of Ockham was a drag queen.
Yes. I see you're fishing for an episode title there.
That would be a good one. Our episode title didn't do too well last week, so it was too
No?
wordy. I didn't do too good. But I was
That's okay.
not I was under duress. Uh,
William of Ockham was a drag queen is a good title because
yeah,
it's not the best joke in this episode.
it's not the best joke in this episode, and it's also it will get people to click because they are like drag queen. That's in the news. It's more also more funnier than saying Dylan Mulvaney was a medieval philosopher, which I don't know if
It's just patently
Dylan
false.
Mulvaney is a drag queen or not. That's not don't please don't write in. Um,
I don't know if that's the same thing. I can't tell the
I don't
difference.
know. I haven't been to a liquor store in months, so please do not write it. I've only seen Fox News briefly on Saturday night this past weekend. Um, yeah, that's yeah. So basically, what you're saying is Darwin and Freud kind of screwed it all up.
Yes.
All right, that makes sense to me. Do we have any dating questions?
I am looking for it.
Now that we've effectively driven away every single person who doesn't agree with us 100%,
Uh-huh.
let's give some free dating advice.
Yeah, there we go. Um 1 second.
Yeah, take your time.
Dating adjacent question. Can y'all help me understand the arguments against cohabitating before marriage? I want to wrap my head around the nuances beyond just no sex before marriage. I have a brother and a friend who are both either rooming with a girlfriend or considering it. Both cases, I have no reason to believe they have an unchaste relationship. They both seem to see it as a practical measure to save on rent or similar reasoning. That got my gears turning about the question of cohabitation. My instinctual sense is that cohabitating is a bad idea on a practical level, even for a perfectly chaste couple, but I'm not sure how to articulate that into a solid line of reasoning. Any thoughts? I'd like to be able to explain it well if that should ever come up in conversation.
Yeah, cohabitating is far and away the most practical solution. So, I mean, they've got you there. So you just need to like acknowledge that. Like, yeah, living with your girlfriend or living with your fiance before you're married makes way more financial sense. It makes way more social sense. It makes way more relationship sense sometimes to do that. It's the practicality is not the reason that the church says don't cohabitate. Um, it's in the same way that like, yeah, sometimes it's impractical to fast from meat on a Friday, because you're at a church, or not a church, you're at a business lunch and they bought steaks for everyone and you have to only eat the mashed potatoes and ask the
Yeah.
server sheepishly for popcorn shrimp so that you can have something with protein. That's impractical. That's annoying. That's frustrating. Why should I have to do
Yeah.
that? Why can't I just eat the steak that's right here in front of me? Well, it's because sometimes the church asks us to sacrifice things when it's not the right time to have those things, even
Mhm.
if it doesn't make a lot of sense to us in the moment. I should be able to eat the steak. It's right here in front of me. It doesn't hurt anybody. I'm not going to hell. I'm not Hitler. I'm not there's no reason why I can't eat
Yeah.
this steak. It's very similar with cohabitation, where the church is saying, hey, this is not the right time for you to do this. It's a good thing. Church has no problem with you eating a steak. You can actually eat a steak this Friday, which is 2 days before this podcast coming out because it's a meat Friday. Amazing, right? Church has no problem with the
This
steak.
podcast is coming out after that
I
Friday, so
don't
no, you
know.
can't.
Yeah, so now don't eat it. But
You
uh,
could have, yes, 2
you
days
could
ago.
have. Oh, you
Sorry.
missed out. If only you were here, you would have known. The church has no problem with you living with a woman. It just has to be at the right time and in the right way. And so I think that's just to like wrap your head around that. And if somebody doesn't believe the church's teachings on marriage and they don't want to move out, like you can't there's nothing you can do to force somebody else to not do this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? All you can say is, "Hey, I don't think it's a good idea for you to live with her, even if you guys are chaste." And if he
Mhm.
says why, you can say, "Well, we know that the church asked us not to live with, someone that we're dating or engaged to before we're married, because it can be a source of temptation, it can be a source of scandal, and I don't want that for you." And if
Yeah.
they say, "Well, that's not going to be a problem for me," say, "Okay,
Doubt.
yeah, I
Oh, you're
don't."
saying you're not sexually attracted to the woman you're gonna live with? Crazy. You probably
Yeah.
shouldn't marry her then.
Never in the history, even in like non-sexual relationships, never in history have there been men and women roommates that have not at least thought about it. You know? Because sometimes it's like Friday night, you've had the worst week of work, you're both home, you've never thought about this before in your life, but you have a couple drinks and you're just like, maybe.
You're not, Jesus. You
Right. You're
can't
not just, you're a human
yeah,
being who
yeah.
has urges
Trust
and
yourself less.
they have to
That's my
be,
opinion on this.
those urges have to be pointed somewhere. And they're either going to be pointed back at you, which we know is not good, or they're going to be pointed at this other person, which is also not good. So you just kind of have to like know
Yeah.
that about yourself. And if your friends, your brother, your cousin, whoever it is in the question, if they don't want to acknowledge that, that's their problem, not yours. But what you can say is, this is why I really don't think it's a good idea. I can help you find a new place. I can help her find a new place, whatever, offer your services, but you can't really force them to do anything,
Mhm.
unfortunately. But that's kind of would be what I would say is the rationale behind the teaching.
Yeah. I mean, the main thing is like don't do married things before you get married. Like that this it's like the same reason why you should it's the same reason why you shouldn't have sex before marriage. Shouldn't share the same bed, shouldn't share the same house. It's
Hmm.
cuz like you shouldn't do married things before you're married. Cuz like it's not for you yet. I mean your
But
your
Patrick,
example
I
was
cook a
right.
meal with my girlfriend before we're married, and
Yeah,
married
so that's
people
not a
cook meals
married thing
together.
then, huh? It's like it's like the church understands human nature better than you. It's an act of humility, right? The church has been around for a while. It understands human nature better than us. It's like you might think that you're, and this goes for traveling with your significant other. Like, don't share a hotel room. It's a bad idea. It's technically
Hmm.
not a sin, but it's also stupid.
Yes.
Because like you're
Whether or
putting
not
yourself in
something
that
is a
position.
sin should not be the metric by which you do or do not do things.
Yes.
It's such a weird legalistic way to live.
But But anyway, like I wrote an article about this for Catholic Match
Oh, I didn't know I was speaking to
non-religious
an expert in the field,
three
Mr.
non-religious reasons why you shouldn't live together before marriage, and
Nice.
one of them was just get stuck. Like it's it's important to be stuck with a person when you commit to them, and when you're living together, you're not stuck with them. You have the option of getting out. So like that mentality is going to stay. You know, your living situation is not going to change when you get married. So like you're going to be like, well, I could just break up anytime. It changes your thought pattern. Yeah, you've already developed that pattern of like, oh yes, sorry. Moving in together
Reading
is a
his own
commit is
article.
a yeah, reading my own article. Moving in together is a signal to your brain that things are different now. So it's like
Mhm.
it's a good way to like actually jump into marriage with both feet. And then um the compatibility myth of like I gotta see if we're compatible. You're a man and a woman. You're not compatible. That's that you know, like you're
Yeah.
just not compatible.
Yeah. I I I heard that, brother.
It's just you have different like you have different ways of thinking.
Mhm.
You know, you're men and women, you're different, and that's good.
Yes.
And like you're supposed to learn, you're supposed to be incompatible and move in together and then deal with the fact that you're stuck with this person. And that incompatibility plus stuckness, driven by the love between the two of you, is what makes you a saint. And if you decide to stop loving them, it is like hell on earth.
Yeah.
But if you keep loving that person, it makes you a saint, and that's the whole point of all of this.
We need to dispense with this utilitarian practical notion of social relationships. Every good relationship that you have, romantic or otherwise, will be impractical and inconvenient.
Mhm.
Like, just acknowledge that, grow up, and recognize
Yep,
you don't get to have everything you want.
yep. Welcome to the real world.
Boom. Now go get a
All right.
job at McDonald's and start putting money in a 401k and
Yeah.
invest in the stock market that'll grow forever and it's never going to crash and the housing prices are never going to go down and the interest rates will always be low and the United States government will always be the most powerful government on the planet and it'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of the government, I'm gonna go back to work.
What?
I have to go back to work.
You don't work for the government.
I know. Look, it's me and it. Look, remember, you are dust, and to
Okay.
dust you shall return.
And it's funny because I got a vacuum right there. It will vacuum you up, dust man.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to grind up your bones and I'm going to put them in my
Mhm.
Dyson. Hee hee
Mhm.
hee hee. We've got a Patreon, patreon.com/thecrunch. $10 a month and up will get you the weekly bonus podcast. Every other level is just for fun. Uh, Someone told us in our patron Discord the other day that they actually paid, I think, $13 for a coffee. And it made her realize that it was true when we say
Yeah.
that it's the cost of a
It's
coffee.
the cost of a cup of coffee.
So think about how much you spend on coffee out a month. Think about if you maybe could allocate some of those funds to supporting what we do so that we can
Mhm.
keep making the show, we can keep making bonus content, we can keep growing the show, doing all the
Mhm.
things that we want to do so badly to reach more people. Another thing is if you like the show, share it with somebody. When was the last time you sent a link to our show to someone you know? When was the last time you maybe took one of our reels or YouTube shorts that we make and sent it to a friend and said, "Hey, you should
Hey,
really listen to this
they
podcast."
make it so easy. A share link, it is copy the link and you send it. You can send it via iMessage and just send it to your mom. Moms love our
Moms
podcast.
love our podcast. So I think if you like our show, please share it with a friend. And if you do share it with a friend and they actually listen to it, tweet at us and we'll give you a shout out on next week's show
Yeah.
at the Crunchcast on Twitter. Uh, we love you. We need you. Patrick, do you have anything else for the people?
Tune in next week when I announce that I am starring as Tinky Winky in the Teletubbies movie.
Thank you all for listening. Please pray for us. We will be praying for you, and we will see you all in Patrick's belly next week.
Yummy.